Unfortunately, her prognosis was that we probably needed to start taking some time apart. This is my second marriage. I don't want to be back out there in the marketplace.
I ended up slipping into some infidelity simply because I stopped focusing on being the best man and guy that I could be and started focusing on other things or just getting complacent.
I'm more of a man. I'm more open and honest and can communicate. If anything could be 100%, I do believe this program is, because it's changed my life.
You just got to be coachable.
Please do us a favor. We know that right now, less than 10% of the guys that are watching this YouTube channel that are getting a lot of help out of it are subscribed. We'd like to get that number up to 50%. Please support the channel and support what we're doing. Subscribe to the channel. Train the algorithm that this is something of value that'll help other men that are in your situation. And please, for yourself, press that bell notification so that the algorithm doesn't suppress the content that we're putting out to help you. I see these posts all the time. If you love her, let her go. So what happens if you let her go? Now she's a divorcee, and now she's forced to either be single and alone or enter into a new relationship, which now that you've messed this one up for her because you love her so much, you decide to let her go. Now, statistically, her next relationship has just increased like 700% that it's going to be a failure because the next relationship has a lower statistical success rate of surviving. I think that if you love her, you should become the best version of yourself, attract her back, and give her the life that she deserves with the man that she wants to be with. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I think it's actually funny because when I met my wife, I wasn't looking to date. I wasn't looking to marry. Honestly, I was in a season where I was doing my best to just focus on myself. I was literally just doing my best to pray, work out, go to work, pray, work out, go to work, read my word. And, I was bettering myself. And I think what my wife was so attracted to me about is she saw that, right? She saw my purpose. She saw my vision. She saw me working towards my purpose. And that's how we came together, right? And that's how it was for a while. And, when you begin to lose sight of that, or really get comfortable, if I'm being honest, you get comfortable and that drive and that vision starts to dwindle a bit. And that's really how, I ended up, slipping into some infidelity, simply because I stopped focusing on being the best man and guy that I could be, and started focusing on other things or just getting complacent.
Yeah.
And once I went through the program and, you were teaching us kind of about, just if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
Taking back my power, taking back the authority that I have over my life, and just continuing to grow closer to God and pursuing my purpose, my God-given purpose, is when our marriage began to mend together again.
I'm going to reword what you said. When I stopped working on the relationship started working.
Yeah.
So at what point in the program, as you're going through the 7-week modules and we're talking about spice and how to increase in your attractiveness and helping you understand that holding on to guilt is just selfish and that's the worst thing that you can do for her, like you're doing an injustice to your spouse. At what point in the program did you start believing that? And then as you started believing it, what were the changes that she noticed in you first and that you kind of noticed in yourself when you started seeing wins with her?
So I would say probably, and I kind of got to estimate here. I'd probably say around week 4, when we got really involved with some of the Q&A sessions with some of the other guys. And, I realized people were going through the same things I was going through, right? Like, guys had these questions or I even had questions throughout the 7-week, module. And I kind of got to see their strategies and their perspectives on things. And then, I kind of let go and said, let me just put this into action, right? I've been studying this textbook stuff. My course director, he's great, but let me actually do instead of just think, right? And honestly, it just straight up started producing results. Maybe took probably a week of some consistency and me, really beginning just to work on myself. And you can just see the dynamic and the shift of the relationship change and begin to go towards a more positive route.
Yeah, I love that. Would you say as you transition through this, I use the acronym SPICE for the levels of attractiveness, but would you say you smell a lot better today in the form of SPICE than you did when you started the program?
Oh, 100%. Oh, my stench, I couldn't even stand my own stench in the beginning of the program, right? And now I can tell that my wife loves my new aroma, right? And it's a refreshing aroma because it's not now it wasn't the same aroma that we came into the marriage with, right? Now it's a new fulfilled aroma. We have some marriage obstacles that we've overcome, and now it's fresher and sweeter to her, right? So she's even more attracted to me now than she's ever been.
If I remember correctly, you actually found a different marriage course that you tried also. Talk a little bit about that. Like, did you see any success from that, or why did that not work or give you the results that you needed? And then you ultimately found DivorceStoppers, our program.
Well, so obviously, with all these algorithms that are out there online, you're at home, you're on the internet, you're typing in all this stuff, asking about cheaters and rebounds and therapy. And of course, Google and everybody picks up on that. And then all of a sudden you start getting all kinds of things in your social media feeds. And so one of these actually found me. And so it was just one of the more, I guess, graphically appealing. But I went on there, and it was more of a Lone Ranger style program. Do it all yourself. Take control of your own life. And the guy really did have a lot of good tips. Much like yourself, he was another male, and he could really relate to me, which was nice. But the problem was where it ended up failing for me was I got a whole bunch of good tips, but just like my previous attitude of being the Neanderthal, the bull that was going to come in here and fix my marriage, he really kind of empowered that aspect of it. But of course, when it comes to relationships, a lot of this is reciprocity. All these reciprocal ideas of give and take, opening myself up. This really wasn't that. This was take back your marriage. It was still very forceful. And of course, as you know, honey works a lot better than vinegar to draw flies. And so whenever I'm over here trying to appeal to my wife, I'm still coming across as this very aggro, very aggressive. At the time, we had a rental business together, so there was some basic bookkeeping. We would talk about the kids, but she really wanted nothing more to do with me other than that. And so through this other program, I was able to rack up a couple of wins. But anytime I would mess up, since I'm not learning these actual tools of how to actually change myself, we basically end up back at step one.
I love that. This is a story that I think I almost hear for 100% of the clients that we run through the DivorceStoppers program, where they've tried some stuff like, figured out things on their own even, or went on YouTube and got some information and got some different phrases you can try and some different talk charges or touch charges, which do give some good results. But it's always the same thing. Modules are not about fake it till you make it. But for the first week, some of this stuff, it's not going to be real until you practice it. Some of this stuff, the first week of the program, we employ some of those things that are a little bit fake it till you make it, because it's not going to be genuine in your heart until you've been immersed in it for several weeks. Like, it's a new way of being. But I do understand the sense of urgency. Like, there is some people out there that will help in similar solutions, but they don't hit on those things. They don't realize or even teach or take into account that she's about to sign a lease, or she's already signed a lease, and now she's going to have to get a job, and the kids are out of school. And they really can't even relate to it. Like, I know the only other folks out there that are teaching stuff like this, it's a guy, and he's brought in a family member. She hasn't been through these type of problems. She hasn't been divorced. She hasn't been faced with a separation where the spouse doesn't want to come back. And neither has he in the same program. Like, he was the one that left 15 years ago, and now he's talking about that. But he doesn't know what it's like to be left. He doesn't know how you feel because he's never felt that way. There's another program out there where there's this kid teaching it, and he's never even been married. So he doesn't understand the concept of, what if I have kids together and she needs to get a new mortgage and we have business a checking account together and all this stuff. He can't even focus on teaching that in the program or addressing that to help men because he's never experienced it. And that's one of the things where I feel like every client that I take on, because of my age, and I'm now a grandfather of 5, I can relate to all of that because I personally have been through it. I have been where all of my clients, I understand what it's like to be the cheater. I understand what it's like to be cheated on. I understand what it's like for the wife to leave. And ultimately, I try all this stuff, and it actually ends up in going down in divorce because the things that I would revert back to, it didn't work. All the wins, all the even changing who I was as a person, it didn't work because nobody taught me how to show that to her. And that didn't work in the first marriage. And in the second marriage, luckily I had studied marriage enough, and I had a wife that had a heart to help marriages as well. But then we had a tragedy, and she was out, and I had to figure out what can I do to actually make her want to come back. So all of those scenarios, I understand and can relate to my clients. And that's why I also, in addition to the modules where we immerse you in this, so it's a way of being, so you don't have to memorize, phrases 1, 2, and 3. It changes how you think. So you just walk in the way that you react with her in a way that it becomes actually natural, real, and a lifelong change. But because of these unique situations that we're talking about with divorces and these long-term relationships and the financial stuff that goes with it and the stuff that can forever alter the course, even if you do stay married, if these changes keep moving in that direction for too long, that's one of the reasons that I do and have availability on my calendar for my clients, where if there's something that you're going through where you need a question answered right now, and you can't wait for that to come up in the module, like maybe that's in week 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, that I allow my clients to actually schedule one-on-one calls with me. And I feel like that's kind of unique to the course offerings and the teachings that I go through. And I know that you've actually took advantage of that a couple of times yourself. Was that different than other things that you had tried that didn't work for you?
Absolutely. Being able to get that one-on-one time, and then also being able to actually jump in and have other people, the other men in the program, being able to actually log in and watch what we were talking about in case they maybe had those questions in their own head. And that honestly just maximizes time because it's almost like group therapy and one-on-one therapy. So if I forgot a question, someone else could jump in and they could ask it, or, before I even had a chance to ask it or learn it from you. And one of the other guys brings it up. And it definitely helped me break that cycle of resentment and immediately set up a safe space to be able to, start tweaking and changing how I am and what I'm putting out there to her.
I'm offering right now a free masterclass. And at the end of that masterclass, I'm giving you an opportunity to apply to work with me. The website to do that is denvergriffin.com/masterclass. And if you're enjoying some of this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. I want you to be notified as those videos become available in real time.
What has the program done for you?
Changed my whole life.
Give me specific on tangible results that it brought about for you.
I'm more of a man. I'm more open and honest and can communicate. And if she tells me that she sees something, I look at it. I'm like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. Let me correct that. I'm sorry I made you feel like that, and let me correct it. Let me make it right. And then we go from there.
Were there any results that you got in this transformation process that you weren't necessarily expecting? It wasn't something you were necessarily looking for, but it happened anyway?
Yeah, I mean, a whole new man, because I joined this just to save my marriage. I didn't join it for nothing else other than to get my wife home.
Let me ask you this. You talked quite a bit about your relationship with your kids. If you had went through this process and your marriage hadn't have been restored, would it have been worth what you've been through? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm genuinely asking. If the marriage had not have been restored, would it have been worth going through this process and what it's done in other areas of your life with other relationships?
Yeah, just with my kids, most definitely. Because that was my 3 kids. My oldest kid, me and him, he was my rock. He kept me pushing through when I wanted to give up. I told him many times, screw this shit, I'm done. I ain't worried about it. I'm done. Daddy, what do you get if you give up? Your wife's coming home, work this program, and get finished.
Yeah.
And I got something else to say. I see something on the iron sharpening iron a lot. People like, oh, you're at the finish line. No, I'm not at the finish line.
Yep.
I'm just at a checkpoint. There's no finish line until you're in the grave.
That's right. I love that.
That's why we make it available for life. Because if you mess up 2 years from now,
The finish line's when you're in your grave. Just because my wife is home,
yeah.
that's not a finish line. That's another starting line.
Yeah, I love that. Before you came into this program, would you have made that same statement?
No,
What do you feel like changed for you in that area?
because I see that there's no finish line in marriage. And then somebody that you truly love, there's no finish line with it until, just like the vow say, until death do us part.
Yeah, that's a beautiful statement, Jason. Jason, there's a lot of guys that are going to be watching this video, in the coming months, maybe in the coming years, and they're hurting. They're in a bad place, but they think that their situation is unique. Their wife is telling them straight to their face, I don't love you anymore. Maybe I have another man on the side. Maybe they find out she's having an affair, and they're just literally hopeless, and they don't even have enough passion about themselves to even book a call with us because they don't believe that it could be possible. What would you have to say to that man that's watching this video where their family is about to be broken, maybe forever, and they're going to end up leaving a legacy of failure to themselves and everybody that they love? What would you say to that guy that doesn't believe that it can be restored, or they're on the fence about even booking a call with us?
It's possible. Don't give up. And I know some guys don't believe in God and ain't Christian, but God is what's led me through this too. He is what has really brought the restoration, the faith in Him. Don't give up. Look her in the eye when she says she don't love you, because I've been told that. I've been told we'll never be back together. I will never love you again. It's over. Find you somebody else. Take your new self and what you've learned and your changes and go be with somebody else. Find a new wife and use it on her.
Yeah.
I've been told all that. There's probably nothing that any of these guys have been told that I haven't been told by that woman. If anything could be 100%, I do believe this program is, because it's changed my life.
There's a lot of people that are going to watch this, though. Let's just say 10,000 people watch this. It's very likely that 9,000 of the 10,000 don't believe that their marriage could be saved. And so what would you say to those people?
Okay, I've had 3 affairs. My wife was done, and then she had her 2 affairs while we were separated.
Okay.
She was done. She was more than done. She was the point of done where, for me to even talk to her, I would have to go to her friggin' work and wait on her to get off and catch her at her car about something important. So she's here at my house every night and every weekend. Well, I'll just show you. She's got her a closet in here. She's got another closet in there. She's also got her a cart to put stuff on. And look, you can tell that's woman stuff, because a man ain't gonna live like that.
Yeah. It looks like women's stuff. I hope.
A man ain't gonna live like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to paraphrase what you're saying. It seems like even in a hopeless situation, if you do have a chance of saving it, you feel pretty confident that this would be one of the better options that's out there, considering you tried some other things yourself.
Yes, most definitely.